Welcome back to the Double Leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jai Picks. The other half of the show, the Parlay. Joining me in, we are back with some UFC action to break down UFC Vegas 84. Let's get into it. Can't believe we're here, man. 2024, we had the long layoff since UFC 296. We're back at the Apex to start off the year. Let's do a little recap of 2023 because we had a pretty damn good 2023 as far as the premium membership goes. I went up over 40 units. I think in total we're up over 70. You were up, 30-something units?
Yeah, 31 and a half or so.
We're neck and neck, and it was a very positive year for us. We're looking to keep that going for 2024 and a good year for the channel as well. So if you're watching for the first time, hit the subscription button. If you've been watching for a little bit, just hit the subscription button as well. Hit the like button for us. We're coming into 2024 trying to make some moves. So the Double Leg Premium link is in the description for that, as we just gave you the 2023 results. Get you every single bet every week for every single UFC card. So if there's a UFC card, we're getting you the bets. We're getting you early in the week as well, which helps a lot because a lot of lines move, all that good stuff. And this year, we're going subscription only because we don't want to give you a losing week. So last year, we would do a one-time purchase for the week. We didn't feel like that was giving enough value to you guys, so we're going subscription only. Gets you the full month, and we're bringing in some new faces as well, part of the team, get you some more value and get you some more insight into other sports as well. Basketball, football, tennis, soccer, all the good stuff. It's our boy Ding. He breaks down the good stuff there every day. But this UFC card, we're started off, it's not too bad. I mean, there was a lot of cancellations. It was 6 cancellations, 5, 6, and a couple of decent fights fell off. But either way, we're back with some fights. I'm not going to complain about that. I don't know about you, but we're getting fights. I'm happy about it. Johnny Walker, Ankalaev in the main event. Co-main event, Manel Kape, Matheus Nicolau in the flyweight division. And then, of course, you got the boy Jim Miller trying to get a little tune-up fight for UFC 300. And another great bantamweight matchup, Ricky Simon, Mario Bautista. Another one I'm looking forward to. But what are your thoughts on the card before we hop into the breakdown?
Yeah, if you're a casual, I get it. You don't like this card. There's not a ton of name value. Like you said, some fight cancellations. But if you really look at it, I'm not going to be surprised if all 6 of these main card fights finish by decision. I mean, Walker, Ankalaev, obviously big power in both guys, good striking. Kape, Nicolau, Jim Miller, Gabriel Benitez. I can almost guarantee you someone's getting finished. Phil Hawes, Bruno Ferreira. Dude, someone's going to sleep in that fight. Everybody knows it. It's just a matter of who. So, if you really, really look into this card, we're going to see a lot of fun fights, a lot of good prospects, and some heavy hitters too. So I can't wait for this one.
Excuse me if I'm going to be drinking throughout this. This is not wine. This is just some regular juice. So don't got to worry about that. We're staying locked in for the card. What do you say? Let's hop into it.
Let's do it.
Start it with the first fight of the night, Joshua Van versus Felipe Bunes. We got Josh Van as the favorite here. Bunes is the underdog. What are you thinking on this fight? It's flyweight division. We see Josh Van look pretty dang good since he's coming to the UFC, and Bunes making his debut after some cancellations. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Bunes is a sleeper in this fight because, there's still so much to learn about him at this level. Obviously Joshua Van, when he came in on short notice against Zalgas, it was a close fight. It's not like he blew Zalgas out of the water by any means. He showed really good striking. And I think he gained a lot of fans that night because of his striking, because of his volume. And he's always throwing constantly every second. But, with Bunes, he's got a lot of submissions on his record. And we've seen him, with some really slick, stylish submissions too. And a guy like that against Van, who's been submitted twice, who's been pretty open about not really having, much of a wrestling background, or he just started grappling 6 to 8 months ago. We hear that all the time. And so for a guy like Bunes, if he can get this fight where he wants to, he's going to have the advantage. But if it stays on the feet, I just see Van being too much and having too much volume and not getting tired in the pace. I feel like Van had a full camp last fight, but this really feels like his first true full training camp. He's going to really be able to put it all together in the octagon. I think he's building off some good momentum. On the feet, it's Van. On the ground, though, it's going to get really interesting. What do you got?
Yeah, it's like Van. He came into the UFC against Jalgis, underdog, cashed, and then against his last fight, I was there in attendance, and he put out a damn good performance. I was super impressed because we were both on the dog, the Peruvian dude. I forget his name, but he looked good on the Contender Series, and it just the pace that Van said, it was like he just couldn't keep up. But Van, like slick hands on the feet, rips the body really nice. Bunes was supposed to take on Dennis Bondar. I think he's getting a much tougher opponent here in Joshua Van. I don't really like nothing really jumps off the board for Bunes to me. It's like I don't want to be too high on Josh Van, considering he's coming to the UFC 2 wins, and I think his stock's pretty high at Bunes. Pulled out of his last fight for a medical issue. I like Van here. I do think he gets it done. Smaller cage would raise some red flags as far as, the grappling goes. Could cut him off and look for some takedowns. The age is obviously on his side, 22 years old against a 34-year-old making his debut. So it's like, I don't think the ceiling for Felipe Bunes is super high. I think the ceiling for Josh Van is much higher. So, I'm on Josh Van on this one.
Yeah.
They really, I don't really like a path to victory for Felipe Bunes in this one. You got anything else on this one before we
Really?
move in?
Yeah, when you look at Boone's record, he did struggle in that promotion ACA, and he took 3 losses back to back. But he's at least fighting guys that have a lot of experience, and guys that had really good records. He lost to a 7-0, 8-0, and 10-1, and then beat a 20-8 and 23-8. I lost to 23-8, and then a 13-9 before getting to the LFA. So I don't know. I like, again, if it goes to the ground, that's where Bunes is going to have a chance in this fight. But I almost feel like anybody standing with Josh Van right now, while he's getting these lower level, entry level UFC fighters in this division, are going to struggle with him just because they've probably never felt that pace before. They've never felt that style of striking where, Van is constantly throwing something. He's constantly racking up these combinations. He's always in your face. And it just seems like it's tough to deal with for these guys making their debut who are already probably nervous. It's probably the highest level they fought so far, and they struggle. So, yeah, overall, I think it's Josh Van all day. Had him in a parlay at first. I'm still holding off just for a minute. I'm still watching a little tape and stuff. I don't know. You just never know with these guys like Bunes making their debut. Most of the time, you can count on them to have a tough fight against a guy like Van, but other times they come in there and it's like, where the hell did this dude come from? You know what I mean? So we'll see.
I'll say this about Josh Van. When I was there at UFC 295, the dude walked out to his own song. He had I think he's from Texas, or he trains out of Texas. And I think it was some Houston rapper made him a song. It was pretty sick. I'm not going to lie.
Hell yeah.
And one thing before we move on, Josh Van, last 2 wins by decision. I do kind of like a knockout prop in this one. But at the same time, Boone's never been knocked out. So we will see. The age, 34 for a flyweight is not something that I like to get behind.
Yeah.
Josh Van, definitely the pick for me. Move on to a lightweight fight. Tom Nolan coming in as a favorite. Nicholas Motta. How is this man in the UFC still? Please tell me that. I don't understand how he could still be in the UFC after he definitely lost against Trey Ogden, but the ref messed that one up. Whether he was going to survive the choke or not, like he was going to lose that fight. So I don't know. It seems like they're kind of feeding him to the wolves here against Tom Nolan, who's 6'3", 23 years of age, making his debut. We know the size he has and the power he has. We saw him on the Contender Series knock the dude out cold. I don't think it looked good for Nicholas Motta. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, man, we were both on Trey Ogden in that last fight. I believe you were too. It was one of my favorite plays of the night, and just for the fact that this guy, went in and beat good strikers like Daniel Zellhuber and made it look, fairly easy. And coming against Motta, who's not a very big, tall guy and long guy for this division, He hits hard, and that seems like it's about it. And he struggles everywhere else. And I thought Trey Ogden would do exactly what he did. And dude, he was so close to the win, and I had the finish locked in. The ref messed up. It is what it is. But you look in Motta's past, like you said, I don't really know how he's still around. Loses to Jim Miller by finish. Loses to Manuel Torres, and candidate for knockout of the year. Dude absolutely put him to sleep.
Yeah.
And he beat Cameron Van Camp, who might have one of the worst chins that we've seen in the UFC in a long, long time, and is now out of the UFC. And I think he got sparked in bare knuckle too. So he's not even fighting the best fighters in the UFC. But when he does fight guys with good striking, if he can't touch him, he seems to struggle a lot. And I think it's going to be the same story here, if I'm being honest. Tom Nolan's like the size of Jalen Turner. He's 6'3" at lightweight with over a 70-inch reach, which is going to be a pretty big advantage, if I'm not mistaken, between him and Motta. So yeah, maybe Motta clips him early and we see a big fluke knockout, but I highly doubt it. I think Tom Nolan comes in here and does what he wants. He's a pretty talented striker.
That's really all he does. Like, that's all Motta does is try to, throw a big right hand, and it hasn't really worked out for him. And it worked out for him against Cameron Van Camp, but he sucks. Like, he's the bottom of the barrel, and he's not even the bottom of the barrel anymore. He's out. He's out of the UFC. And against Trey Ogden's not even like some great striker. The dude has 0 knockouts on his record.
Yeah.
So it's like he couldn't even touch Trey Ogden. So what is he going to do here against Tom Nolan? Like, if we look at the stats against Trey Ogden, landed 14 significant strikes, 17% significant strike percentage, like, landed. How is he going to touch Tom Nolan, who's 6'3", 76-inch reach? This is Tom Nolan all day. And then, of course, you got to look at the chin issues for Motta. He's been knocked out 4 times. Tom Nolan got the heavy hands. So,
he's accurate too. Tom Nolan's so accurate.
Yeah, I mean,
like on the Contender Series, he touched that dude and he could not miss and put him out. And he crashes forward in a similar way that Manuel Torres did with that elbow. So
pretty solid guy too in Bogdan Grad, who was
for sure
11-1 at the time. And it was actually, the line was like, Tom Nolan was like -155. And yeah, I mean, he just put him to sleep. So this line's definitely has grown. I would expect it to continue to grow. Tom Nolan, I think, is probably a solid parlay piece. I'd throw him in there. And I think it's Tom Nolan all day. Stays undefeated. Move on. We got a featherweight bout. Weston Wilson, another man. How is this man in the UFC? I mean, this is like, we get these on the Apex cards. It's like, all right, these guys are, 1 shot, 2 shots, should be out the door. Weston Wilson gets the chance because he's buddies with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which is legit the reason why he's in the UFC. Just straight up. Like, Weston Wilson is only in the UFC because he has a relationship with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. That is 100% it. And that line definitely reflects it. Plus 500. Gene Silva making his debut at -800. I mean, if anyone's going to take Weston Wilson here, you'd probably take him by like sub or something. Definitely not going to win a decision. Definitely not going to win by a KO. He's going to have to catch him with something. We saw him against Brito go for some knee bar, and he just got his face punched in. Gene Silva got some heavy hands. And, see by the under, this fight's probably not going to last very long. So seems like one-way traffic. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's just shocking that the UFC is still trying to bring in 34-year-olds like Wilson, who are 16-7 coming into the UFC, who's been finished 6 times out of those 8 losses. Like, it's just kind of shocking. But like you said, he's buddies with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It's how he got into the UFC. And, the UFC was like, here's Joe Anderson Brito. If you can beat him, I guess we got something on our hands, and you're probably going to get smoked by him. And that's exactly what happened. And Gene Silva reminds me of a Brito style. He's got the heavy hands. He's aggressive. He'll get in your face. He can put the lights out, but he can sub you too. Like, the dude has, I'm pretty sure, a lot more submission, maybe a couple more submissions on his record than he does knockouts. Gotcha. And, Weston Wilson, he has a lot more knockouts.
A lot of knockouts.
Yeah. But Weston Wilson has that karate style like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but is definitely not as effective as you would think he would be with it. He does have a decent submission game, but if you look at his subs, dude, he's subbing these lower level dudes. He's not going to come into the UFC and sub a a Gene Silva or, a Joe Anderson Brito like he was trying to. And most of the time, I think at this level, you're going to see him get finished trying. And I think it's the same story here. Gene Silva is damn near 10-1. I'm a minus 1,000 favorite, and I think rightfully so. Honestly, I don't give Weston Wilson much of a chance in this fight. But fun fact too, Weston Wilson had a fight scheduled with Keith Lee, one of the mega TikTokers, food reviewers right now on TikTok. I noticed that when I was doing my recaps and film watching, so kind of cool.
What is Keith Lee? Where is he going to be in like a year or two? Is he ever going to make it to the UFC or what?
Keith Lee?
Yeah.
I think he's done fighting. I think he's just going TikTok route, food reviews, and he's got like 15 million followers. So,
oh shit! I'm just checking his page. He fought Rafian Stotts back in 2020. Yeah. He did have a fight 2022. So I guess he might just. I mean, he's 8-5, 2-2 in Bellator, so probably not. But yeah, Weston Wilson. I mean, I guess you could maybe look for a prop on Gene Silva. I'm sure the KO prop's going to be fucking steamed. And I don't really like the submission prop, even though Weston Wilson has been submitted 4 times in his career. I just think Gene Silva goes in there knowing he could knock him out, put him out cold, and he just does it. So, yeah, that's
so hittable.
Yeah.
Weston Wilson's so hittable.
Yeah. I mean, even the frame, I mean, it's not really like he keeps his distance very well, So it's like not much to get behind there for Weston.
Yeah.
Taylor Lapilus for Basharat. Basharat is the favorite, so this is incorrect. Basharat is the favorite at minus 245. Lapilus is the underdog. Bantamweight bout here. Basharat still undefeated. Lapilus was in the UFC, comes back, and he fought on the Paris card. Got a win there against a guy that some people were pretty high on, not me, Kylan Loughran, and picked up a win by decision. What do you think on this one? I mean, another not super wide line, but I mean, Basharat, we both know his brother, Javid, and they're pretty damn good brothers to train in Las Vegas, get a lot of good work here. So you can understand why the line would be in his favor. Lapilus is a solid striker, but he's 31 years of age, second stint in the UFC. What are you thinking?
Yeah, if I like Lapilus, I think he's a decent fighter, and he just schooled Loughran in his last fight. His striking was good. His striking defense good. He's pretty fast, durable, good cardio. If he can keep this fight standing, I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth, and it's going to be a pretty close fight with Basharat. Like, Basharat's a dude that is good, and him and his brother are, some highly touted prospects. They're winning in the UFC. They're doing everything right. And Fareed's last fight against Clydeson Rodriguez gets the sub early in the fight. If that fight wouldn't have happened, I would almost take a flyer on Lapilus here, just because Fareed's not a dude that usually goes out there and finishes fights. He has a lot of subs on his record on the regional scene, but on the Contender Series, in his debut against Damon Blackshear, he's not going out there and finishing those guys. And Lapilus has a wealth of experience. He's fought guys at the UFC level outside of the UFC. I believe he's 9-1 in his last 10 right now. This guy's a little underrated, if you ask me. On the ground, I mean, he's got a 81 or 81% takedown defense, which is good, especially when you're going to fight a guy like Fareed, who's going to look to take it there at some point. Like, if he can hold that up, this fight gets really interesting, in my opinion, because Fareed's like a technician on the feet, but he's not going to go out there and overwhelm you. He's not going to hit you with these shots that, put the lights out necessarily. And if Lapilus can keep it there and keep up with the pace, I think it's going to be a closer fight than these odds are showing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like, if this fight's on the feet, 100%, it's kind of like a 50-50 fight. I think Lapilus really solid on the feet, but I think Basharat knows he's got the advantage if he takes him down in the smaller cage. I do like him to get some takedowns. I think Basharat, stays undefeated here. I think Lapilus on the regional scene in Paris, like, you're not getting that many good fights. Like, let's just be honest, like the European regional scene, we've seen it before. It's just not that great. Like, it's really not. So I just don't really like him coming back to the UFC. He fights a guy also making his debut that I just wasn't that high on. Like, I just watched the tape on Loughran, and I'm like, he doesn't have very good hands. Takedowns really aren't that great. Like, I think Basharat is just levels above a guy like Kalen Loughran. and I think Lapilus will have trouble with defending takedowns. I just don't think he'll be able to get off a lot of offense. I think Basharat will probably lead the dance and get another dub here and stay undefeated. I'd probably say by decision. I think Lapilus will be able to defend some takedowns, but I don't think he'll be able to keep them off him. Basharat, the Basharat bros are just such technicians. It's like they just look so in control during the fight. They know their next move. They know where they want to get, and they end up getting there. So I'm on Basharat here. He is the favorite. Once again, the lines there are flipped. But yeah, it's Basharat for me.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, with him being a technician, I mean, if you want to watch good mixed martial arts and a guy who is, just as technical with his grappling as he is at striking, I mean, both Basharat bros are as solid as they come. Man, if they had more of a killer instinct, these dudes would be insane, like absolutely insane. Like, they're already really, really good. But if you're looking for a dude that you can learn something from and just watch a beautiful performance, the way he does everything, his movements, everything, Farid Basharat's your guy.
Move on to the bantamweight bout. Marcus McGhee, the fan favorite, coming in as the favorite in the fight against Gaston Bolanos, or the Wish, the Walmart, Ilia Topuria, as I would like to call him. I mean, we saw him when he made his debut at Kansas City, and he walked right past us. I'm like, that is Ilia Topuria, bro. Like, that is 100% Ilia Topuria. But it's not. It is the smaller version and the not as good version. But he is pretty decent. I mean, he's coming in as a plus 215 dog. I'm like, do I really want to pay the chalk on Marcus McGhee? Like, I know Marcus McGhee has looked like a killer in the UFC, but he's not fighting like the top with like anybody good. Like JP Buys been knocked out like 3 times before he fought Marcus McGhee, then he gets knocked out again. Journey Newson gets rear naked choked or gets clubbed and sub by Marcus McGhee, gets cut. I don't know. I mean, I think Bolanos, he has like the striking background, and the fights that he had in Bellator, when he would lose, he'd just get taken down or he'd get submitted. And we saw in his last fight, he can get taken down, but Marcus McGhee is not really the guy that wants to take the fight to the ground. So if this is a stand-up battle, it's like, I don't know how good Gaston's chin is. I know Marcus McGee's chin looks pretty good, but it's also like he hasn't really been clipped like that. What are you thinking? I'm almost tempted to take a flyer on the dog, but maybe you could talk me out of it.
I want to, and I like the odds on Bolanos here. Like, I think Marcus McGhee is a guy that, the jury's still out on what he's going to look like against some of these better fighters. And especially, at this price, it just seems like it's a fight you should stay away from right now. But McGhee also seems like a dude that's just going to be so hard to beat because he's so good everywhere, and he's strong, he's tough and durable. He's got all the makings of a guy that is going to be a tough fight for anybody in the division that draws his name. Bolanos has good experience. He's fought some decent fighters. His hands are heavy, but I don't know if that's the game you beat Marcus McGhee with. I don't think it's the stand and bang with this dude, stand and try to trade strikes with Marcus McGhee, because I think you lose that battle half the time. And at the same time, I don't think Bolanos has the ground game to take McGhee there, control him, and look for a dominant position so you can find a finish. I really don't. Like, I think if you go 3 rounds with Marcus McGhee here, McGee's probably going to be the one that comes out on top. I think his striking hits hard. Obviously, he's got decent volume, and he's accurate, and everything he hits you with is smooth. He doesn't waste energy, but he explodes whenever whenever the shots open up. And if he can hit you with them, it's going to be a long night for you. And Bolanos has a lot of power, and we've seen him put guys out and knock dudes dead. But again, man, it just comes back to, if Marcus McGhee can eat a few of those shots early, I don't see Bolanos being able to finish him in the second or third either. I think Marcus McGhee will be there in the 3rd round with the same pace, with the same power. He just seems like one of these freak athletes that come along every once in a while. I'm not saying he's the most skilled or he's got, the tools to go all the way to the title or anything, but he's just a very, very tough fighter to beat at this stage and at this level in the UFC right now. So I'm going to go with Marcus McGhee. Again, I'm excited to watch more of his fights because who he's been beating does not impress me much. And from what we can see, Marcus McGhee looks phenomenal. But again, like you said, it's JP Buys, it's Journey Newson. So, I mean, the jury has to still kind of be out on what he can bring at this level.
Yeah. I see this kind of like a boxing versus a Muay Thai. Like,
yeah,
Bolanos got the Muay Thai background. I'm sure he's going to be looking for leg kicks early. Marcus McGhee boxing, as you said, it's like it's crisp, it's accurate, and it's fast. Like you don't see it coming, and that's how he's been clipping guys. So I think if Bolanos throws hands with him, I think he could get caught. But if he could, stay at range, use his kicks, maybe get McGhee a little bit damaged up on the feet, like kicking his legs, then he could, find his way into the fight. Marcus McGhee hasn't lasted too long in his fights. Like most of his fights end pretty quickly. And we saw in the last fight with Bolanos, I mean, he rallied and got the win by decision. So granted, it is against Aaron Phillips, but this is what we're coming down to. We're looking at guys that have fought Aaron Phillips, JP Buys, and Journey Newsom. So your guess is as good as mine. If gun to my head, I would take Marcus McGhee, but I don't think I'd play it because I just need to see a little bit more from him, and I need to see more from Bolanos. Maybe I'll get to a flyer on Bolanos, but gun to my head, I got to take McGhee.
Both guys do seem tough too. I mean, I don't know. I could see this fight. If McGhee is landing big shots in the first round, it's not really phasing Bolanos. I think this could go to decision. I know a lot of people are going to be on that McGhee KO prop.
I was thinking that too. Like I was thinking maybe an over 1.5.
Yeah.
And we see the over 2.5 on the screen. It's plus 175. I think the over 1.5 would probably be around like even money or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it could go a little bit deeper because both guys never been knocked out. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on there. Keep her moving to welterweight bout. Preston Parsons coming in at even money. Semelsberger, slight favorite. 2-3 for Semelsberger in his last 5. This dude is he's so up and down. I can't even begin to break him down because he's won me money. He's lost me money. It's like, I don't know what's happened with this guy. Preston Parsons, 1-2 in the UFC. Yeah, I was on him against Trevin Giles based on the fact that I thought he could wrestle him up. He did try to, just wasn't enough. Like the work that Giles did on the feet outweighed it. It was a split decision. What do you think in this one? Like Semelsberger's low volume on the feet scares me to take him here. Yeah. And the fact that he's been shown or has shown that he can get taken down and controlled leans me to take Preston Parsons. So I'm like, both ways. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I honestly think if Semelsberger doesn't get Parsons out of there in the first round, I think Parsons wins the fight. I really do. I hate what I saw out of Semelsberger in his last fight. I mean, where was that in? I forget. Was it Salt Lake City? Yeah, because he gassed out hard. I mean, he had the fight won. He had Medic dead to rights in that first round. Dropped him at the end, and just couldn't finish the show. Preston Parsons isn't a striker by any means. I mean, it's coming along to the point he can, trade with guys and he's not going to, look like a fool out there. But when he gets his hands locked and he gets you to the ground, this dude is like super good on the ground. He's got some very, very good jiu-jitsu, trains at 10th Planet in Jacksonville, Florida, I believe. And he's got that style of grappling too. And, Semelsberger, like you mentioned, man, the dude does get taken down and he's almost content to be on his back at times. I don't know if it's because he's scared to waste the energy or what it is, but if a guy like Parsons gets on top of you, I just don't see Semelsberger winning rounds when he's being taken down by a guy like that. And I don't think Parsons will be able to do it in the first round because Semelsberger does start strong and he's a strong guy. But as fights go on, man, I think Parsons could have some success if he doesn't, get knocked out in the first round here.
Here we go. If we're talking late round finishes, Matthew Semelsberger, 3 fights that he's lost have been by finish in the third round.
There you go.
2 TKOs in the third round, 1 third round submission. I mean, Preston Parsons round 3 sub would be looking pretty juicy, and he hunts him. He hunts the submission.
Yeah, he does.
He had 3 against Trevin Giles, 5 against Evan Elder. He just hasn't been able to finish him. So, if he can gas Semelsberger out, I mean, we could definitely see a path where Preston Parsons finds a late sub or is just able to, lay on top of him. Like Semelsberger against Jeremiah Wells, cracks him on the feet, has him dead to rights, and then finds himself on his back. Like Matthew Semelsberger, tons of knockdowns. Like the dude could put you on your back, but he just doesn't always finish them. Like he's only got 2 knockouts in the UFC, and they were all within like 15 seconds of the first round. So
yeah.
If you can hang on, take him to deeper waters, then I like it there. Maybe it's, a live betting opportunity to take on Preston Parsons. If he survives the first round, then you look to take him live. Semelsberger usually gets his knockdowns in the first round or at the beginning of the second round. So I don't know. I mean, I'd probably say dog or pass in this one. Like I'd probably just say Preston Parsons plus 100, take it or take it live.
Yeah.
Maybe a Semelsberger first round KO because we've seen that for Preston Parsons as well. He got knocked out in his debut against Daniel Rodriguez in the first round, and that's 2 of his TKO losses in the first round. So,
I mentioned Semelsberger being content off of his back at times, but in the same breath, I could also see a world where he lands a takedown on Parsons, and Parsons the one content on his back too, because he's going to be looking for the arm bars in the triangles and everything, and give away rounds like that. So it is kind of a greasy spot. One thing too, Semelsberger, how short notice is this? 3 weeks? 2 weeks?
I don't know.
Yeah, because who is Preston Parsons supposed to fight?
He's supposed to fight Basil Hawes.
Yeah, so it really hasn't been that long since they announced Semelsberger to be stepping in. So, maybe that plays into it as well.
Cardio.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I think Preston Parsons could surprise some people this weekend.
Yeah, I'll take him for the pick. I'll take a dog there.
I
Preston
like it.
Parsons. Heavyweight bout. The old man Arlovski's still doing it. And he's getting paid for it because I'm pretty sure he's got to be getting some decent money if he's still fighting at this age, 44 years of age, against Waldo Cortes Acosta, coming in as a big favorite. I mean, is there any path to victory for Andrei Arlovski here? If there is, let me hear it.
I'm not really coming up with much. I mean, maybe if you took him down and somehow landed 3 takedowns, one at the beginning of each round, maybe. But I really honestly, at this point in Arlovski's career, I see Cortes Acosta finishing him in the first round. I really do. I think it takes one big shot, and then it's downhill from there for Arlovski. And it's not really a testament to Cortes Acosta's power. It's just the age on Arlovski, man. What is he, 45?
44.
44. I mean, and you get a young guy who's going to have a 15 times speed advantage. I mean, the speed advantage here is going to be disgusting. It's just a matter of time, in my opinion, until he clips him. I don't know. What are you thinking? You think he gets him out of there? Cortes Acosta's had some performances that kind of disappoint in a aspect where you're expecting these heavyweights to finish each other, and then he just cruises. But I mean, we're getting a 44-year-old Arlovski here.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't finish him in rounds 1 or 2, I think that's a loss for him. Like,
yeah,
he's got to go out there and finish him. So he did that in his last fight against Dresky. And I was on Cortes Acosta by KO in that one because Dresky was getting clipped by Carl Williams, who's got he's got power, but he's got really no hands. Cortes Acosta has really solid boxing. His weakness is the leg kicks, and it showed against Jared Vanderaa. We all know Jared Vanderaa, how good he is. Andrei Arlovski, not really a huge leg kicker, and I don't really think he's got a ton of steam on him that's going to really damage Waldo during this fight. So Cortes Acosta does have good cardio, so if it goes later, I don't think he's going to fade. Arlovski, I mean, he's nicknamed the Pit Bull, but it's like, how much bull has he got left? Like, I don't think he's going in there and, getting into some type of war with Waldo. And we saw him get finished against Don'Tale Mayes. Again, we know how good Don'Tale Mayes is. So not looking good for Andrei Arlovski. Cortes Acosta, definitely the pick. I guess you could probably look for a round 1 or 2 KO. I would honestly think it comes around 2 because I think Costa probably damages him in round 1. He's not like a super killer type guy. I mean, the punch that he put Dresky out actually hit him in the back of the head. So
yeah.
It's not, I don't really see it coming super early where he just goes in there, walks him down, throws bombs, and gets him out of there quick. I think it's more of like an accumulation of damage in round 1, gets him out of there in round 2. So I'll probably look for that round 2 or 3. That's really the way I'm seeing this fight. I don't think Arlovski's really got much left in the tank. So
I'm gonna sell you on round 1 here. So
let's hear.
You look at Arlovski's last, let's just call it 5 opponents. Okay, Don'Tale Mayes, slow. Marcus Rogerio de Lima, probably the fastest one out of all of his previous 6 opponents. He loses that one by submission. Jake Collier, slow. Jared Vandera, slow as shit. Carlos Felipe, slow. And now he's going to come in here against a super fast-handed dude who's younger, who's hungry. I think from the get-go, he just gets touched up. And I think that accumulation of damage happens in a short span, in a short period of time. And I don't think he keeps up with him whatsoever. I mean, this is going to be a way faster heavyweight and a faster-handed heavyweight than he's faced since, oh, man, I don't know, Tom Aspinall in 2020. So I think, I just have a feeling, and since 2021, that's, 2 years ago now. That's a lot of, when you're 44 years old, 2 years is like 5. So I just think he gets the pace put on him from the get-go and just breaks really early. And I hate to see it because Arlovski is an absolute legend, but I think it's round 1. I really do.
We'll see what the odds are. If they're juicy enough, I'll go in it with you, but
yeah, they probably won't be. They probably won't be juicy.
I mean, the over-under is not like super steamed to the under, so I mean, it's not bad. Could be worse. We'll see. We'll see what it is. But we'll move on. To the 2 men that have been knocked out in their last 2 fights. Phil Hawes, slight underdog. Bruno Ferreira, slight favorite. Phil Hawes got the skills, just don't really got the chin. Bruno Ferreira got knocked out his last time out against Nursultan. We were both on that. We were both on Nursultan in that one. And Nursultan was the underdog. Ferreira, 5'10" for middleweight is just, it's not a great frame. I mean, he packs a punch, but he was facing a dude that was like 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
He gets a little smaller guy, smaller than Nursultan, but still a pretty big guy in Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes is 34, though. I didn't even realize that until I looked at it today. I'm like, dang, this guy's kind of getting up there. And considering the age and the chin, it's like
training with Dylan Dennis.
Yeah, that was also another thing. I'm like, what? Where did Phil Hawes come in the picture here with Dylan Dennis?
Clout chasing.
So I don't know what's going on, but I mean, you got to give him some slack. It's like he's facing Ikram Aliskerov, Roma Delice, Chris Curtis. Like those are the guys that have knocked him out in the past 6 years. So some heavy-handed guys. But Bruno Ferreira also heavy-handed. I don't know. I mean, this one kind of screams like it could turn into someone doesn't get knocked out round 1. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 guys that are chinny and they're kind of going to play it a little safer. What are you thinking?
Yeah. I keep hearing that Bruno Ferreira is really chinny, but really, I mean, the last fight was his first knockout loss, his first loss in his professional career. And Nursultan, 6'4" or 5, and that long of a reach, and a stud striker who's powerful, can't really knock him. And he got caught with the leg kick, and he gets his leg caught, and then from there, Nursultan's got a straight shot down the middle, and he lands it on him. And it really wasn't that shot that put him out. It was hitting the mat and then the follow-up shots after that put him out. So I don't know. I don't know if he's chinny or he just met his match and got clipped. And I guess there is going to be the question of how he responds to that and how he bounces back. But Phil Hawes, I would consider chinny for sure. When you look at Phil, I mean, knocked out by Chris Curtis. Okay, Chris Curtis is a damn good boxer, but Chris Curtis is the same size as Bruno Ferreira. That 5'10", 5'11". Loses to Roman Delice. His knee looked disgusting. And then Aliskerov, who a lot of people are calling, a guy who can contend for the title in the next few years. And his only win in his last 4 is against Duran Wynn, who's 5'5" or 6 at middleweight, which is crazy. So, I mean, it's just at this point for Phil Hawes, 34 years old, nasty knee injury against Roman Delice. Just got it kicked off, it looked like. You just wonder, like, how much left he's really got in the tank, or if this fight somehow goes to the 3rd round, like what he's going to look like if that cardio is that good. I do see a path to victory for him, though. And I think if he gets back to that wrestling against a guy like Bruno and try to gas Bruno before you gas yourself, like you give yourself a better shot here. I think Phil Hawes trading shots with Bruno Ferreira is a terrible idea just because of that chin and the issues he's had with it. And the fact that Bruno Ferreira, like that's his game. He wants to get in a brawl with you, and he's going to find that shot sooner or later. I mean, the dude knocked out Gregory Rodriguez in his UFC debut. As a 9-0 undefeated fighter coming in against a vet who has beaten some good guys. So, yeah, the jury's still out on Bruno Ferreira for me. I love his power against a guy who has been knocked out so often like Phil Hawes. But if he gets taken down in that first round, like what's going to happen? Are you going to get tired? He holds a lot of muscle in there, a lot of water weight. So it's it's interesting to me. I don't know. Would you take the chance on Phil Hawes here? After seeing his last 4 fights and him being flatlined in a few, knee beaten up, knocked out, 3 of those last 4, or would you take the chance on the kid who just got knocked out and took his first loss, but hits extremely hard?
Dude, it's like if he comes out with the mindset he's going to wrestle, I'm on Phil Hawes all day. But like at this price, because seems like such a great buy low spot on Phil Hawes. I mean, he was minus 310 against Chris Curtis. He was minus 175 against Roman Dolidze,
which is crazy.
It's like he's got the skills, but it's just, can the chin hold up? And Bruno Ferreira, I mean, he knocked out RoboCop, but it's like RoboCop is chinny as well at the same time. I don't know. I'm probably going to keep this one in the back pocket and look to see if this line moves at all. I'm almost tempted, if it goes Phil Hawes plus 110, plus 120, maybe you take a flyer on him, or maybe a Phil Hawes by decision or something. Because, I mean, he's got some pretty solid wins. I mean, beat Nazardine Imavov, it's not bad. I mean, it's really good. Ages really well. But it just comes down to, is he going to use his skills or is he going to go in there and trade? And we don't know that as bettors. So that's the gamble you take.
Where do you think the money's at in this fight? Where the public is putting their money between these two hard hitters?
I think Ferreira 100%.
81% of the money on Ferreira.
Yeah.
19% on Phil Hawes, and the line is damn near dead even.
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. It's like Ferreira, everyone just knows Phil Hawes is chinny. So they're like, all right, Ferreira's got a ton of knockouts, just easy money there. He's going to go in there and knock him out. And he definitely could, but I don't know. It comes down to a value play, and Hawes
probably the far better fighter.
Yeah, for just the better overall fighter, it just comes down to the durability.
Yeah,
and that's what we bet on. So I'll take Phil Hawes for the pick here. Don't have any bet on it right now. We'll see if we get it there, but
I'll take him too.
Bantamweight bout. Ricky Simón coming in as the favorite against Mario Bautista. Bautista has had a good run in the UFC. I think he lost his last fight against Damon Blackshear. Granted, I could be biased because I had a bet on Damon Blackshear, but I think a lot of people, I saw a lot of people saying that was the robbery of the year. Can't argue with that because I thought Blackshear definitely won at least 2 rounds. But either way, he's an underdog here. That's not a spot he's been in the past 5 fights. He's been pretty heavy favorite in a lot of them because he hasn't really been fighting too many top guys, but he gets a top guy here in Simón. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, like everybody talks about Mario Bautista being a monster and a savage, and like he's good. Don't get me wrong, but let's just look at his last 5 wins. Damon Blackshear, like you said, maybe robbery of the year. He was outstruck by 11 significant strikes. Damon Blackshear took him down 4 times. There was a lot of reasons you could have given Damon that fight. But before that, you beat Guido Canetti as like a minus 1,200 favorite. You beat Benito Lopez, Brian Kelleher, and Jay Perrin. Like those are your wins, and that's what people are hyping you up over. Like I get it. You've looked good and you've finished damn near every single one of those fights. Besides Jay Perrin, you went to decision with Jay Perrin and got taken down twice by him. That's a big flag here for me. And before that, he gets knocked out by Trevin Jones, who is no longer in the UFC after the Cody Garbrandt fight. So, Mario Bautista is good, and you can tell he's a good athlete and a good fighter, but I think he's way overhyped and, not as good as a lot of people make him out to be. I think he's, against a guy like Ricky Simón could have a lot of troubles. Mario Bautista's takedown defense is like shockingly average. It's like 56%. And we saw it against Blackshear taken down. Like I mentioned, Jay Perrin was able to get him down at the ground. What do you think a 3-round Ricky Simón's going to do? Ricky Simón, fought his last fight in a 5-round fight, and I think that was a disadvantage to him. I think if Ricky gets in these 3-rounders and he can push that pace and he can wrestle full steam ahead, only 15 minutes compared to 25 minutes, I think he finds a lot more success against a lot of people. And I think it's going to be a handful for Bautista here. If he can't knock Ricky out, I think it's going to be a lot of Bautista on his ass, trying to get back to his feet, and Ricky Simone getting his hands locked once again and dragging him back down. So, yeah, I mean, if you remember Ricky Simone before the Song Yadong fight, fought Jack Shore, who was like 16-0, and everybody's claiming one of the best prospects to come into the UFC in a long time. And he comes in there and he submits him in the second round. So Ricky Simone is nothing to play with in the grappling department. And if you have any deficiencies or lack in any department there, he's going to expose it. And I think we see a little bit of that here with the takedowns.
Yeah, it's like, I think this is a good buy low spot on Ricky Simone, because the loss to Song Yadong, I mean, Song Yadong's piecing up Mario Bautista. Let's just be honest. Like, he's doing whatever he wants to Mario Bautista. Mario Bautista, where does he win this fight? Like, on the feet, he's okay on the feet. It's really, he's been getting his wins by taking guys to the ground and subbing them. I mean, Ricky Simone, not really a guy you want to take to the ground. He's been submitted before, but that was all the way back in 2016. So it's like, I think Simone goes in there, shoots double legs, finds them. I mean, Damon Blackshear is a beast by any, like, all means. He's a beast. But, I think Simone's probably a little bit better of a wrestler. Damon Blackshear is a much bigger guy than Ricky Simone, but Bautista got taken down by Blackshear 4 times, got outstruck by him. I think it's Ricky Simone minus 180. It's not a terrible price. I do like Mario Bautista, but I just think this is a bit of a jump up for him. I mean, he was fighting bottom of the barrel, fights Damon Blackshear, who wasn't ranked, but I think could definitely break the rankings within the year if he's active. And yeah, I think Ricky Simone buy low spot here. I think I'll probably be on it too.
I mean, Mario Bautista was feeling that pressure of Blackshear towards the end of the fight. And Ricky's going to be so much more spammy with the takedowns and with the pressure than Damon was, that I just see Bautista having trouble keeping up and keeping off his back. I really do. And honestly, man, the price on Ricky isn't that bad. Is not that bad in my opinion. I think it's playable. I don't think it's going to get any better. I don't think much money's coming in on Bautista here. But I don't think it's bad, and I think it is somewhat playable.
I like it. Simone for the dub. Move on to the lightweight bout. Jim Miller getting that tune-up fight before UFC 300 against Gabriel Benitez, and he's only sitting at minus 120. He was the underdog. The line has moved. He was the underdog, moves to the favorite now. But Jim Miller still doing it, 40 years of age. He's not getting some young buck here. He's getting a 35-year-old Gabriel Benitez. Jim Miller, we all know, most of you know, he's wanting to fight at UFC 300, and I would assume he should be able to do that with the turnaround here. But he's got to get past Gabriel Benitez first and come out of it unscathed, really. So it's an interesting one. I'm not really sure why the line is like this. I mean, I can understand why the line flipped for sure. I don't think Jim Miller should be a dog against Gabriel Benitez. Minus 120, still not too bad. Like, I just don't really see where Benitez wins this fight. He is solid, but you look at his wins in the UFC, they're not good. Like, they're just complete scrubs. Like Charlie Ontiveros, Justin James, Humberto Bandenay back in 2018. Like, anybody he fights that's of any value, he loses to. Jim Miller, been around for a long time. I think he gets a dub here. What are you thinking?
I think the line, I think Jim Miller's age is way too big of a factor for the books right now. I think that's where a lot of this line comes from, because 40 years old, you expect him to slow down at some point. You got a guy who's going to try to kick his legs and slow him down as much as possible, who's got the good jiu-jitsu, and Benitez. But like you mentioned, man, Benitez's wins aren't impressive at all. I don't think he's really beat anybody that's still in the UFC, if I'm being honest. I mean, he beats Charlie Ontiveros in his last fight, which was a year and a half ago, mind you. He's been on the shelf for a while, which I do not like at all. And, kind of got touched a few times in that fight until it was over in the first round. But the loss against David Onama, what happened there? Onama was able to put the pressure on him and completely break him down in that last sequence. Same thing with Billy Quarantillo. And that's just Billy's game, though. He'll take you to deep waters and he'll absolutely drown you, put the pressure on you, and put you away in the third round. Beats Justin James. Okay, out of the UFC, loses to Omar Morales, got the pressure put in his face for a couple of rounds. Sadiq Youssef knocked him out in the first round, had the pressure in his face. I mean, Jim Miller is going to do exactly what Billy, David, and Sadiq did to him. He's going to get in his face and he's going to throw hands. And let's see who's tougher in this fight is going to be the name of the game. And if Benitez does want to go to the grappling here, I don't even think he's better than Jim Miller in that department. I think Jim's a better wrestler. I think Miller, submission game is very, very solid, and he's been doing it forever. So it comes down to, if Benitez can catch him on the feet, maybe he could touch the chin and put him out, or maybe he could kick the legs off. But Jim just one of those durable ass dudes that it's just, I don't know. You just don't see him welt and break very often. And, I think it's a tough climb for Benitez here. And I loved grabbing Jim Miller at plus money last week or the week before when the lines were starting to come out. And yeah, I just think this is Jim Miller all day. I think he's better everywhere. And I love seeing him come in there and absolutely tune up a younger guy and Jesse Butler. Absolutely shut the lights off. One of the best knockouts of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of shit on Benitez's opponents. Jim Miller's aren't that great either. Like, his wins aren't that great. Like Jesse Butler, Donald Cerrone, when he retired, he was 100% retiring that fight. Nicolas Motta, who we talked about before, and Eric Gonzalez. Those are his wins in the last 3 years. So, I mean, they're not great either. But I just maybe I'm getting trapped here, but I just don't see a way that Gabriel Benitez wins this fight. Like, he trains at AKA, solid gym, very solid gym. I think he might have Cain Velasquez cornering him, which is interesting. But I just don't see how he wins this one. Like, if he goes for the takedowns, I think Jim Miller's solid there on the feet. We see Jim Miller, I don't know why, but he just seems to be throwing bombs now. Like, he just doesn't care. He's just going to throw freaking bombs. And Gabriel Benitez has been knocked out a few times. So I think this is Jim Miller all day. If you ask Anthony Smith, Jim Miller could beat Brock Lesnar. So, I mean, if he could beat Brock Lesnar, I'm taking him to beat Gabriel Benitez. And he's 100% the pick for me. Don't care that he's 40. I think he gets it done.
This dude submitted Charles Oliveira by a knee bar in 2010. I mean, this dude has some under.
We don't talk about that.
But he beat. I mean, in the same breath, he's beaten Joe Lazon twice. He has so much experience. It's like, so does Benitez, I guess, but just not like this. In my opinion,
same level.
Not the same level of experience. And I don't think there's any kind of style that Jim Miller hasn't really seen. And I don't think Benitez possesses a style that's going to throw him off by any means.
Plus, if they want Jim Miller on UFC 300, are they going to give him a fight where he's going to lose? Like, come on.
If this goes to decision, they're making the call to Vegas. They are.
Yeah.
This is Jim Miller by if it goes to decision, this is Jim Miller 1,000%.
I like it. Give me Jimbo for the dub. Flyweight co-main event. We've reached the co-main. And now Kape coming in as the favorite against Mateusz Nicolau. The rematch. Nicolau won the first one. Was it a split decision? It was a close fight. Yeah, it was a split decision. Ultimately went to Nicolau. So Kape, I don't even know how to say it, but Kape. We'll go with Kape. I think he's got to come in here looking for some revenge. I mean, he's on a good little streak. Granted, the wins aren't like to the top ranked guys. Like Nicolau just fought Royval, got knocked out. Royval just fought for the title. So got to take that into account. But Kape has put on some pretty good performances. Who are you liking in this one?
I like Kape here. I think out of these two fighters since they last met, I think Kape is the one who's probably improved more. And in the striking department, I think he's better. And I think he won the first fight between the two. If you go back and watch, every round was somewhat close. Besides, I think the second round, I think, Kape looked better, landed the bigger shots. And even in the third round, when it was definitely probably 1-1, I mean, Kape outlanded him. He threw over 20 more significant strikes in that round and, landed at a better accuracy. So it was almost shocking to see him lose that fight, and he was shocked as well. But you look at who Kape came into the UFC fighting, man. He fought Alexandre Pantoja in his debut. Like, that's the champ right now. That's a hell of a debut. And then Nicolau, who is ranked in his second fight, lost that and has won every single one since. For Nicolau, though, coming off that nasty knee to the face by Royval, and we were both there in attendance in Kansas City, You know, when I watch these two fight on tape next to each other, I think Nicolau's probably, more well-rounded, and technically on the ground, he's probably better, but he just doesn't have that killer instinct that I like seeing. And Kape does. Kape goes for it. Kape will swing to take your head off. And that was one thing that gave Nicolau problems in that first fight, is that both guys were landing, but Kape was just outlanding it, or not outlanding him, landing him with more power. His shots had way more pop on him. Judges didn't give it to him, which, I was shocked. The announcers were shocked. And, I think we know who won that fight. But, Nicolau could bounce back, could be a buy low spot on him, but Kape just seems like he has whatever it is to get him to that next level. I mentioned him fighting Nicolau in his second fight, and then Pantoja in the first fight. I think he's done nothing but improved since. So at this stage, I think he makes it look like a convincing decision win here, or even a knockout.
Yeah, it's like the thing I hate about Nicolau is it helps him, but it also hurts him. It's like he's so low volume, and he's not going to exchange like in the pocket. He's not going to sit there and exchange with you. Yeah. That's kind of what Kape really thrived in his last fight against Felipe dos Santos, who made his debut, and is a really solid fighter. I think he'll go far in the flyweight division because he went toe to toe with Manel Kape. But Nicolau's just going to stay to the outside, look for his shots, blitz you with a good right hand. If he clips you, it works. But if he's not clipping you, then it doesn't really work. Like, he's got a ton of knockdowns in the UFC, but a lot of times he's standing there staring, yeah. And looks like he's just trying not to get hit. Manel Kape, I think he's going to come in here, make the adjustments from the first fight, push more of a pace, get in his face a little bit more, and he's just going to be the more active fighter, which is why I like him here. I think he's got a good chin too. He's never been knocked out, knock on wood. But I just think he's just too much here for Nicolau. Minus 240, not a great price. I mean, you could maybe throw him in a parlay. The thing that scares me, if it does go to decision and it's, kind of a Nicolau fight where it's lower volume, then maybe he gets, the better strikes or the better shots in there. It could sway the judges. But I would trust Manel Kape learns from the first fight, be's a little bit more active, and takes the win. And he could knock him out too. I mean, we've seen Nicolau get knocked out before. We saw it his last fight. All of his losses have come by knockout. So you could say he's chinny, but either way, I mean, we are flyweights. So, I mean, you get a lot of finishes in flyweights. So, I don't know. Maybe look for a finish for Manel Kape.
Yeah, and I look at their finishing abilities. Like, Nicolau just doesn't seem to have that finishing ability against higher level opponents like Kape, to where Kape does. Kape will hit you hard. He can knock you out. I mean, he has submissions. When you look at that, it just makes me scream that, this is Kape's fight to lose, and he should be the one getting his hand raised. And even, the line, minus 240 is almost shocking for a rematch in which Kape, technically lost. I think that shows you who the books think won that first fight too. But as far as finishing ability, man, I think Kape's got that on his side by a mile.
I like it. The Kape get his rematch, or get his revenge in the rematch. Take it for the dub. And that brings us to the main event. Magomed Ankalaev coming in as a heavy favorite against Johnny Walker. The rematch, second rematch here. And, I mean, I thought Johnny Walker should have won that by DQ back at UFC 294 when he gets kneed in the head. I mean, ultimately, it just comes down to the doctor thing. I guess they don't want to give, Walker the win based on some doctor dumb decision. But either way, we find ourselves here in a 5-rounder in what was originally a 3-rounder in the first fight. I mean, you're always really going to get a wide line with Ankalaev. I mean, I think the smallest favorite he's been was against Jan Blachowicz, really, in the title fight. And he lost the first 2 rounds. So, I mean, I think Johnny Walker is live as a dog, but it's like, I don't know if I don't really like the 5 rounds. I really favored him more in the 3-rounder where he could, use his explosive movements. And Ankalaev's going to be a tough guy to finish, if it goes farther in the fight, round 4 or 5, I'd start to favor Ankalaev. But I mean, if you look at the over-under, they're not really expecting this fight to go very long. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Johnny Walker plus money is not too bad, but Ankalaev, he's just durable, and he's not a guy that's going to exchange in a lot of stuff. Like he's one of those Dagestani strikers. They're going to stay at their range. They're not going to exchange too much. They're not going to get crazy. They're going to probably lull you to sleep, look for some takedowns type things. So, yeah, I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, man, if Johnny would have landed that knee he threw in that first fight when I don't know if he faked being hurt or if he actually was feeling that to the body. If he would have landed that, dude, the lights would have been out, and that would maybe been one of the best knockouts of all time that you would see on promos for the rest of your life. It was insane. And if Johnny Walker does win this fight, I think it's something like that. Like, it's got to be something shocking in the first couple of rounds, a big right hand, some kind of kick or anything like that that just catches Ankalaev off guard. I don't think you're going to see like a 5-round war with Johnny Walker walking away with his hand raised here. I really don't. I think he slows down throughout the fight. I think Ankalaev, once he does that, Ankalaev is going to have the opportunities to take him to the mat over and over, really wear him out. And, from a technical standpoint, Ankalaev is not a bad striker. I just, if he was a little more aggressive, I'd like him a little bit more here. With the price, man, it's like he's unplayable because Johnny Walker's shown that he can knock out basically whoever he fights because he's so unorthodox and he throws these crazy shots that just seem to catch people off guard. So it is interesting with the odds, and it's hard not to take a flyer on Johnny Walker here. But based off what I saw in that first few minutes of their fight before the no contest, I like Magomed Ankalaev here. I really do. But Johnny Walker, man, a lot of fun to watch. I'll be on the edge of my seat, as will a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it's like the weirdest thing about this one is I think back to the Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos 5-round main event where there wasn't a lot of action, and it was ultimately went 48-47 for Thiago Santos. It's like, are we going to get another one of these fights where there's just not a lot of action? Or are we going to get a Johnny Walker that comes out aggressive and he's kind of a killer be killed? Like he has shown he can be somewhat chinny. I mean, we're talking guys like Jamal Hill that have knocked him out, like guys that have a lot of power. Ankalaev, I think he really just goes to the wrestling game in this one. Yeah. I don't think he wants to stand and take leg kicks for Johnny Walker. We saw it in the first fight. He landed some good leg kicks. I mean, Johnny Walker beat the brakes off of Anthony Smith's legs. And we saw Jan Blachowicz beat the brakes off of Ankalaev's legs. I mean, it's kind of the key for Johnny Walker is to use his length and kick the legs early. He's got to get him hurt early, and maybe he could take over later. But, when I just think about it more, I just think Ankalaev goes for takedowns, racks him up, and ultimately – I think it probably goes to a decision. I honestly think Ankalaev could win a decision here, or at least I like the over. I think I like the over 1.5. If Johnny doesn't come out like a bat out of hell, I don't think he will. He just hasn't really shown that he does that in his last few fights. And he finished Paul Craig, but Paul Craig just gave him his head and said, bash it away. So yeah, I think Ankalaev probably pulls it off. And I do like the over, but that's what I'm seeing in this one. And those are the picks for UFC Vegas 84. Once again, if you want all the bets, jump in the Double Leg Premium membership. Links in the description down below. And we'll get you all the bets for UFC Vegas 84. And we'll get you in the private Discord chat ASAP. So head over there, get her done. Hit the subscription button for us. And we got, what is it, 12 or 13 fights in total?
I think 12. All
right. I mean, we got 4 p.m. Eastern start time. So one of those afternoon cards. I kind of prefer those over the late starts. I'm not going to lie, but
let's get them started.
Let's get them started, man. I mean, it's been forever. We get fights back. We got pay-per-view the next week. We're looking forward to it. You got any closing thoughts before we head out of here for the viewers?
Just heading into 2024, I think we forgot to mention at the beginning how we absolutely murdered UFC 296. We walked away combined up over 18 units on the night. Massive bets were hit. We were on, man. We were calling all of them. We were in attendance, and it was fun to watch. And I think we're bringing that same energy into 2024. I think you and I both learned a lot from this past year betting. And, we hit some extremely high highs. And, there was some weeks where we didn't do our best. And I think taking all that going forward, 2024 is going to be a massive year.
Yeah, I mean, Biggest thing I learned is, like, if you like a play and you really like it, just go in on it, man. Just
Trust
go
your
in.
gut.
Your gut. If you don't like a play, just lay off. You know, you don't got to force anything. That's one thing that we're big on with our members and in the Discord is, like, don't got to force anything. If you start losing, don't force. Just stay the course, take the plays you like. And ultimately, at the end of the day, at the end of the night, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, we're looking for profit. Last year, we got it done. We're looking to do that again this year. And hopefully we start off UFC Vegas 84 on a good note, and we can make 2024 a big year. So appreciate y'all for watching. You can stay up to date everything at the Double Egg on Instagram. We'll be putting out our posts there at HeyJai Picks on the medias. For me, where can they find you?
All social medias at the Parlay MMA.
One thing before we get out of here, free pick on the Double Egg drops every Saturday. So if you don't want to get in the premium, always stay up to date on that free play. Gets posted every Saturday. And both of us put out some free plays as well. So stay tuned for that. Till next time, the Double Egg here. See you in the next video. Signing out.